Without further ado, luckily I confirmed the name of this session with Sean last night at dinner. So roughing it out with customer feedback, knowing the why. Speaker is going to be Sean Kramer, head of the voice of the customer and NPS with Atlassian. Please welcome Sean.
Good morning, everybody. So I have to give a little story about this, and don't feel bad about it. So last night, Erin was talking to me, and she was like, so I know you're talking tomorrow, but I have a question. Is that RUFing it out with customer feedback? And I'm like, no. I know Jay talked about our values, right? But that isn't the case, okay? So we're going to talk a little about RUF, and you're probably going, what does that mean? So hopefully by the end, we'll give you a little clarity into what that is. So as mentioned, my name is Sean. That is my Twitter handle, Cosmo Kramer. Yes, Seinfeld. Also LinkedIn, so I do control the market when it comes to Cosmo. And my scary picture, if you ever want to hear more about that, happy to tell you. So before I get into RUF, I want to ask you guys, has anybody know this date in particular? Anybody know April 23rd, 1985? Maybe some of you guys weren't born yet. Okay, it's okay.
Your birthday.
No, that would be a special day, okay? So let's talk about what April 23rd is. You ready? I'll show you.
There's never been a better taste. There's never been a better Coke. Introducing the greatest taste discovery in 100 years. Introducing the new taste of Coca-Cola. A taste that is Coke and everything a Coke means. A taste that's very familiar, yet totally new. A taste so good, so real, it couldn't be anything but a Coke. The great new taste of Coke. Watch for it, try it, and enjoy the best tasting Coke ever.
Look at that smile. All right, so April 23rd, 1985, what happened? Coke launched their new Coca-Cola, okay? Little history behind that, right? Coke was controlling the market, but really wanted to figure out how they continue to grow their market share. There was a company that was starting to gain momentum in their marketing, which was Pepsi-Cola, right? So what they wanted to do was to design the new Coke, new flavor, new formula, the new Coke. So does anybody know what happened? Our children will never know what refreshment is. The new taste is gone, okay? Even the Time magazine, right? So shit hit the fan, okay? The customers or the users of Coca-Cola were not happy about it, all right? It was said that about 450,000 calls that month were made to the Coca-Cola support line, right? Over $150 million was lost in potential revenue, and in most cases, Coca-Cola dropped about 3 points in their market share, right? So 3 points isn't like $5, right? 3 points is about $3 billion. So does anybody know what happened? All right, we fucked up. All right, on April 23rd, it's going to be known as the industry that it's something that nobody has ever heard of as the infamy. And in most cases, what Coca-Cola ended up doing, went back to the Coca-Cola classic. All right, we were just kidding. That new taste is never the new taste, it's the actual classic taste, right? And that classic Coke is still there to that day. So the reason why I'm bringing this up, right, is not just because I love Coke and I want to talk about how much I enjoy the original formula, okay? But the biggest thing is that feedback matters a lot, right? Now, all of us in our certain companies probably don't have $150 million that can handle a change like that could impact a company, right? Some businesses, we'd probably go out of business. But the feedback that we get from our customers is extremely important. Now, Coke did do some testing, okay? They did ask some people, but they really didn't ask the active consumers of Coke. They just launched the new formula, right? So one of the things that we talk about, and Jay mentioned this yesterday in his keynote, is we have a lot of different values. And by the show of hands, how many are currently collecting and using feedback in some of their decisions in their company? Okay, good, a lot of hands. hope by the end of today we can learn how we can take a step further. So at Atlassian, absolutely feedback is in our lifeblood. We want to make sure that we give the best experience. At Atlassian, we believe, as Jay talked to you guys about yesterday, is the decisions, the company that we create is based on our customers. So I want to talk a little about the feedback and the issues that we face, and then what we've worked on to help prioritize that feedback, and then hopefully push it back out to you guys. So NPS, we talked a little about it. Hopefully everybody knows what NPS is, right? 0 to 10, how likely are you to recommend single, simple question. Now, with Atlassian, we not only collect NPS, but we have a series of different collectors that go throughout our company, right? Much like many of you, social media, ideas or suggestions, as well as support, collects millions and millions of comments. And on average, we receive about 25,000 comments a week, which is insane, right? You think about how can you and your company manage 25,000 comments or pieces of feedback a week. I can't, right? It's just unbearable. So we started to figure out what could we do to help manage those. And we realized as we were looking at some of this data, an interesting comment that was made by Charles Kettering that says, there's a difference between knowing and understanding. Most oftentimes, we can really know something, but not really understand it. So I want you guys to think about it, right? How often are you collecting your feedback and you know that some of this is important, but you collect so much of it that you don't understand it, right? Or in most cases, there's different departments that understand their portion or know their portion, but altogether, you're not fully understanding it, right? In most cases, 5 people or 10 people are going to a product management group or the decision makers and going, hey, we all need to change this. So as a company, we were really focused or having hard times because we had not only those 4 sources that I showed you, we had about 11 of them, right? And trying to get all those 11 was extremely difficult. It's like moving a big boulder. Wasn't going to happen, right? And there's absolutely no way right now that we could move this huge needle of feedback. So one of the things we started looking at is, right, so we looked at NPS, and we looked at the 4 areas, and what we decided, or what we found out, is that we got a lot of feedback, okay? 25,000 a week. But as we were starting to go through some of this feedback the first time, and going through every single ounce of it, which took a lot of time, we noticed a couple of things, right? We noticed some themes. The first theme that I want to talk to you about, and I don't know why. Come on. Whoa. Let's see if this works. Okay. The first one, which should be there, we'll just imagine it's there, is reliability, okay? Reliability. Now, when we were looking at reliability, we found a couple of things. We saw things like people going, you know what? Performance of the product is slow. By show of hands, how many are using some of our products? Jira, Confluence, Bitbucket, awesome. How many are in the cloud? Are you guys using cloud? Okay, awesome. So, full disclosure, and in our value of open company, no bullshit, right? You were probably seeing some of the slowness and performance of some of our products. Hopefully you gave us some feedback, and we saw that. Uptime, quality of the product, security. So some of the things that as we started looking at these pieces of feedback, we saw. The next thing, wow, it showed up, is functionality, right? Now functionality was grouped into things like, you know what? I really, really like Jira, okay? But I really would like the ease of use of Trello, right? Can you guys add in this for me? How about onboarding, right? This would be really cool. I really, really would like you to help me take the next level. So we saw that. We also said would like, must have, might help, right? So that functionality, which probably all of you get. The next is usability. So as we're looking at usability, we said, oh, got some echo there, is complexity, okay? I love the product, but it's really, really hard to use. So probably some of you guys are in our marketing departments, okay, or in different areas. And for Jira, which has some really great functionality of things like project tracking and workflows, it might be hard to understand everything that is in the product. And we have, you know what, it would be really help to improve that. I just don't understand it. Ease of use and discoverability of features, okay? Now, what I talk about that is oftentimes is that we, not only within Atlassian, but probably different companies, is that you may look at something that has 100% of features, but you're only using about 10% of them. We got a lot of the customers. I would like to use a feature, I just don't know where the hell it is, okay? So we decided, now based on those three things, and there's certainly not enough acronyms in the world, we need to figure out how we could create something that everybody could understand. Not only about within us as a team, but as a company, right? It's extremely hard to go to developers or to anybody in the company, any company, and go, you know what, we've got a lot of feedback, and we just got to do a lot of things. We wanted to keep it as simple as possible. So we created RUF, which stands for Reliability, Usability, and Functionality. So what did that allow us to do, right? That allows us to understand the theming of the data that comes in, okay? So you're going, well, what does that mean? So I want to share with you some of the information that we're learning, particularly for one of our products, Confluence, okay? Now, again, this is the things that we deal with every single day that in our product context might help you. So what we ended up doing is, all right, let's take that data, which is about 40,000 a month, right? And that should have been faster. Let's rough it out, okay? So we did apply. Oh, come on. Wow. Magic. We did apply some magic. Not that slow. I promise you it was a lot quicker. And we noticed something, okay? We noticed of all the data that was coming in, that 31% of that data had to do with reliability. What was reliability, right? It's slow. I can't use it. Performance is bad. 63% of it was usability. What was usability? I don't know how to use it. I'm lost. And the last but not least, which is cut off, is 6%, which is functionality, okay? As we started looking at that single click, right, we went, well, all right, now it's really hard. It's really hard, right? You think about it, is how many times have you gone into a development team and said, guess what? People don't know how to use it, okay? And what are executives or developers telling you? Well, what do we need to do, right? Complexity is very complex. So what we needed to do was we needed to double click into that. And we noticed some really cool things. So of that 31% that I told you about, 28% of that was reliability, all right? 3% of that was bugs that we were dealing with in the product. And then it broke down to 22 was complexity, 32 was content, 9 was navigation, and 6% was editing, okay? So you're thinking about it going, which probably now, as a decision maker, because all of you are decision makers here, right, in our journey, where are you going to focus? Where are you guys going to spend most of your time? Probably in these two areas, right? Now, often as a company that we face, right, and you don't have to raise your hand, but I want you to think about this. How often are companies focusing on that part, right? Let's build new features. The way that we acquire new customers is to build new features that they like, right? I can tell you, based on the data, that some of your current customers probably don't give a shit about it, right? They want new things. They want to continually to grow, but they want to understand or they want to have a product that's working, okay? So for us, we needed to figure out how could we change a company that is working on features, but to focus their shift on focusing on the R and the U. So what we ended up doing is saying the best area to focus on right now at this time, our quick wins, is performance, okay? So how many of you have ever heard of a metric called AppDex before? You guys know what AppDex is? Okay, got one of them. So just in a little overview, AppDex is used for page load times. So the higher the AppDex score is, right, the quicker the page is going to take to load, right? So many of you, I saw hands on using the product. And one of the things we noticed that the page loads or the app disk was really, really low, right? So we went and said, guys, everybody, we need to focus on improving performance. We know without a doubt that one of the metrics that we use to drive success in development is app decks. I want us to focus on app decks, right? Now, and the voice of the customer, as probably in customer successes, our profession and our jobs are not to give solutions, right? We're not developers, right? Our goal was to define problems. So the developers could give solutions to the problems. So we said, guess what? We need to work on performance. And they said, well, let's work on app decks. And we said, that's great. So we focused on that. Now, as we look at it, we started to kind of baseline app decks in January and February and started working in March and April, right? And app decks isn't something that we just click on and you just automatically make working. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes teams, right? So the development team broke into a large group and started focusing on improving that, right? Now, one thing in particular that we saw here was as app decks started to improve, okay, the mentions of our customers that were frustrated with our products, okay, started to decline, right? So we went from a 17 at a top point, right? 17% of overall people that were talking. So you imagine about 90,000 people were talking about performance. We're like, well, what can we do, right? As we started to improve that performance, and as it started to go up, people started not talking about it, right? So I want to give you just an overview. I can't share you NPS scores. I apologize, right? But one of the things I can tell you that as we looked at the overall promoters to detractors, it was initially about 20%, right? So in the last 6 months, we've gone from over 20% of detractors, of people that were frustrated about us, down to 3.7%. Now, NPS, guys, is a huge rock. And as Jay talked about yesterday, it's a rock that you can't just go, guess what? We're going to move. Okay? Success is not just, hey, let's be successful, right? It takes work. RUF has allowed us to go, let's focus on a specific area to improve. So, we got this from a customer, right? Maybe one of you said it. Lots of features and easy to use, but the biggest problem I was having was performance. I'm starting to see that's a bit quicker. I'm more likely to recommend it. Bam, right? So we've sat aside a customer that is going to turn more into a promoter. So what I want to do is I have about 7 minutes. I want to open up to a lot of questions. But I want to take just a couple of minutes. I want to share with you some of the things that has helped us, and then I want to turn something back to you guys, and I want to give you a gift of love. So the first thing is the way that you guys can all do this, right? Is focus on categorizing and measuring your data. Now, all of you think about this and go, how many sources of feedback do you have, and where is it? Okay, find those sources and get them into one area. Measure that feedback and then categorize that content, right? So RUF, as you guys go through all your feedback, hopefully the themes that you're seeing are simple. You could probably group everything into those 3 areas. Figure out where those sources are and figure out how you can categorize them. The next is insights to impact. Determine those red lines. Now, when I talk about red lines, is all of us absolutely want to have all positive feedback. The truthfulness of it is you will never have all happy customers, right? But figure out individually what you're willing to take and what you're willing to deal with, right? So in the case of reliability, I'm willing that we know that we cannot always be fast, right? But we're willing to help about 10%. If it goes beyond 10%, then we've got problems. And we've got to make sure as a company that we focus on it. Establish your red lines. Get commitment. I can tell you, and I'm a huge believer of this, everybody, is that if insights without action is absolutely useless. Useless. You can spend all your time on doing and getting this insight, but if you do not have commitment from the top down, bottom up, left to right, you will never implement that. So make sure that you have that commitment from everybody. Establish those baselines as I talked about it. Anybody remember what our 3 baselines or our 3 metrics were at Atlassian? We talked about it yesterday. NPS, MAU, and churn, okay? No revenue based in those. Oh, those 3 metrics are our lighthouse metrics. We establish those baselines, and we figure out what we can do to improve those 3 things. Next is create insights. Huge advice I can give you on this one is that there are probably a long list of things that you want to have improved in your product process or based on the customers. Focus on 3 to 5 of them, okay? Go to the table on a quarterly basis or monthly basis or whatever that is with 3 to 5. Don't overload. The more that you give is not often good. Figure out how you can combine your feedback sources into 3 to 5 of them to give clear direction on how to improve things. Monitor those improvements and communicate internally. So Jay talked a little about how we communicate internally. We send out weekly customer digests to let employees internally know where we track with our measurements, what customers are feeling, so they're not always keeping it in their head. We do the same thing with RUF. Here's where we are with RUF. Last but not least, and absolutely the most important thing, is close that RUF loop. Now, I'm going to share with you in just a second something that happened, which is a huge thing that we were extremely happy about, is don't let the feedback fall on empty, on deaf ears. As you get feedback, which you probably all are getting, do not forget to follow up with the customer. Now, for some of you, you might have enough customers that you can handle following up with them. For us, when we get 90,000, there's absolutely no way that we can follow up with every single one of them individually. So we've created an automated process. Those processes help us to do a couple of things. We give insights, but we're not promising things. And make sure you email and blog. So I want to share with you this one thing. So in recent, as we started to grow and starting to give feedback, we've ended up kind of sending out to our customers an email. And that email is, hey, we really appreciate your feedback, and we've created a group, or we have this CSS team, or we've got this VOC team that is focused on making sure that your feedback gets delivered. And we've talked to the product managers, and Chris Carter is one of our customer insight managers, and said, guess what? I've talked to the team, and the 3 things that they're working on this quarter are improving the speed of Jira, making key usage scenarios simpler and easy to learn, and building a mobile app for Jira, right? If you have any questions, email me directly. Just let me know. 90,000 people. And thank you for being part of this, okay? So this is the initial loop, right, of we're working to improvement. We have had, and this so far, a 60% open rate on people that have opened that email, and over 75% of those customers that were pissed off with us or frustrated us, the next time they were asked, improved their satisfaction. Now, this is the start of the loop, right? The end of the closing the loop is figuring out what our customers feel and then letting them know that we've made those changes. So last but not least, our goal with RUF is to give it back to each one of you, okay? I don't know. I hope RUF is something that might be helpful for you guys. So we are starting to we're working to open source RUF, so you guys can take all of your feedback and put it into the RUF metric. Check out RUF It Out, or not, it's not RUFing it out. RUF It Out, and be part of the discussion, right? The Twitter handle was just created, and we're kind of starting those discussions. But I want to do that. Take my card. If you have any questions, please let me know. And if it's something that you would be useful to your company, email me, and let's see what we can do to help make sure that it could apply to you guys to help make change. All right, thanks.